hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Morris Plains Board of Adjustment on September 23rd, 2024. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby announce that this meeting is being held in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Open Public Meetings Act. Proper notice of meeting dates have been given to the Morris Newsbee and the Morris County Daily Record and posted on the board in Borough Hall. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and a quorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Karen, roll call please.
Mr. Baza?
Here.
Mrs. Cortez?
Here.
Mr. Egan? Mr. Carr?
Here.
Mr. McKay?
Here.
Mr. Webster?
Present.
Mr. Schultz?
Here.
Mr. Rizzo?
Here.
And Mr. Cianciano?
Here.
All right. No special announcements, so go right into meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes from the August 26, 2024 regular meeting?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Nays?
So,
Abstentions?
Mr. Rizzo and Mr. Webster will abstain.
This part of the meeting is to hear comments from members of the public on matters other than those items on tonight's agenda. Or are there any members of the public who wish to make comments? Seeing none, we'll close that part of the meeting. And our first and only application for this evening's meeting is application BA 324 Chick-Fil-A Inc., 1711 Route 10, Block 161, Lot 1. The application is being reviewed for completeness only tonight. There will be no testimony heard. I see an attorney approaching. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Simone Cali, Cali Law LLC, on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, so tonight we will ask the borough engineer to review his comments for completeness, and also I believe that our planner's comments are substantively identical, so Liz had to cover in other meetings, unable to attend, but you can cover any comments.
Sure.
you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Take it away, please.
So I'm referring to my September 12, 2024 letter to the board. You and the other board members should have a copy of that. At that time, there was one deficiency in checklist, in the checklist items, and in addition to that, there were 17 waiver requests made. Subsequent to that letter being issued, Ms. Cali submitted the information regarding item number 2, which was deficiency in that they hadn't applied for a steep slope variance. So they amended the application, submitted an updated notice and an updated application form, and including the request for that variance. So that item is satisfied. So the remaining issues now are to go, well, and one other thing, and they also submitted checklist F, which is the variance checklist. So in there, it's complete except for another series of waiver requests. So first, if it's okay with you, I'll go through the checklist E issues here, which the waiver request that is. So, how do you want me to handle this, by reference, or by reference to the item number, or by complete description of the whole item? I'll be happy to do it either way. All right, I'll just give you a quick overview here. So item 31 has to do with showing setbacks on the entire property. As you know, this application is for a small leased area on a large, very large property, and then in and of that, in that small leased area is a very limited scope application. So
Excuse me,
I think.
Mr. Ryder, would you just want to move it a little closer?
You want me to put it here?
No.
No. Okay, put it here. So, no, where were we? So that waiver request I would recommend. Item 34, which is the location of water courses, bridges, culverts, rock croppings, etc. Again, it's not applicable. I recommend that waiver request. Item 35A through C, which is again, location of water courses, bridges, culverts, etc. within 200 feet of the property. For the same reason, I would recommend that waiver. Checklist item number 36. they're asking for partial waiver for drainage structures, et cetera, which again are not relevant here, so I'm recommending that waiver. Item 37, flood hazard areas, et cetera, there's none involved in this application, and I would recommend that waiver. Checklist item number 38, which is for freshwater wetlands issues. Again, none of that involved here, so I'm recommending that waiver as well. Item number 47, which has to do with utility details, stormwater management, et cetera. Again, I'm satisfied that we have sufficient information in the site plan to proceed, so. Again, that waiver request is recommended. 48, location of all solid waste disposal facilities. Now, I believe they've shown all their on-site disposal areas. Just jumping back to Ms. Lahaney's report, she seemed to think she didn't see those, but I'm satisfied that they're there, and we're not creating any new uses here for generation of solid waste management. So recommending that as well. Checklist item number 49 has to do with variances or issues regarding multifamily developments. That's not the case here, so we can, I'm recommending that waiver. Item number 54, size, location of all existing signs. I'd like to hear possibly some reasons for that from Ms. Cowley as to why that waiver is requested. If you want, we can do that now, or
Let's do it now.
can we hear that?
If you can describe what 54 requires.
54 requires, very simply, the size, location, details of existing and proposed signs. So, there are no proposed signs.
That's why we request the waiver, Mr. Chairman. There are no proposed signs, but if you want to see existing,
Well, it says it requires existing signs.
Right.
Now, I don't know how.
So they're existing to remain with no changes whatsoever.
that's correct.
So we'll caucus board members at the end, but I think that's not unreasonable to request a waiver.
Okay, item 57 is says the final site plan shall show final building floor, plans and elevations, et cetera. There is no buildings here. There is this new canopy which they provided details on, so I'm suggesting that waiver be granted. Item 58, there's three parts to 58. One is for soil disturbance permit, that's A. I'm needing to hear some testimony on that, the reasons that the applicant is requesting that waiver.
There's minimal disturbance, if any, in light of this application. I know we're proposing a retaining wall in the area. I believe that's the request for the waiver due to the de minimis nature.
Okay, so
of
we
this
need to
application.
know how de minimis it is,
Sure.
because if it's under 200 cubic yards, it doesn't need a soil disturbance permit. If it's over, then you wouldn't need one. But I would also note that we are able to grant that request here with the stipulation that the applicant would then, subsequent to any action by this board, would have to seek that permit from the borough council under a separate process.
So this is, so if during the course of testimony, the number is higher than what was applied for and noticed to the public, this board wouldn't be able to act on it, and you'd have to come back at your risk and expense and time to the governing body.
Understood, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
We could probably provide that information between now and hopefully the hearing date to avoid any issue post-approval, should it be?
Well, my suggestion is we grant that waiver here,
Mhm.
and then make it a condition of any action you take after the testimony is given. If they need it, then that condition would be to go to borough council to get that permit. The next is 58B and C, which are tree removal permits and environmental impact statements. There's no tree removal involved, there's no real environmental issues here, so I'm recommending that waiver as well. 59 is certification of compliance with the preliminary plan. there is no preliminary plan, so we can grant that waiver. Item 60 is if a development is proposed in phases, sections, and we need to see the phasing plan, however, there's no phasing here, so again, that would be applicable, eligible rather for a waiver. Item 61, any public improvements required as final approval. There are none, so we can also, my recommendation is we grant that waiver request. And finally, item number 64, which is delineation of riparian zones, which there are none involved here. So that covers the waiver request on checklist E. Now regarding checklist F, I have to find it. There are 16 waiver requests. Checklist F is for the variance application. First item on checklist F that they're seeking a waiver is a copy of the zoning officer's decision if an appeal is taken. This is not here on that basis, so that can be granted as well. The next one is item 24.
Excuse me, I just have a question. Did everybody receive this? Because I received the original today. I have no copy of it from an email, so I don't know if it came and
But Karen, when you say this, what are you referring to?
for checklist F. Do you have checklist F?
It's, I have it as an attachment to the Cali law letter dated 9/3/24, stamped received 9/18/24.
That's the copy I'm referring to.
Okay, all right, so it came in with your
It
information.
came in with everything.
Okay, I didn't send it to them, okay.
Okay, item 24 on checklist F has to do with matters for bulk variances for lot size, setback, et cetera. Mostly for residential type developments where we look for color photographs of the neighborhood. So all those A through G and G's subparts 1, 2, 3, and 4 all can be waived, in my opinion. Item 25, which is related to flood hazard areas and et cetera. Again, none of that's involved. We can certainly waive that. Item 26 is freshwater wetlands issues. There are none. And lastly, item 30, which is delineation of riparian zone. Now, as you know from many years, there was a lot of repetition between this checklist and checklist E. Again, so I'm recommending that checklist F waivers be granted as I just outlined, and that the board can deliberate on those other requests that you heard some input on.
All right, so before we deal with completeness, let's just deal with the laundry list of waivers that were requested. Do any of the board members have questions on the waivers? The recommendation here from the engineer today.
I just have one on 54, that's on the signage, right? And then, comparing it to Liz's note. So are we saying there is no new signage at all?
That's correct.
Okay, because then she was like asking for all the details of everything that's there, but it's already there.
It's already there.
Okay, thank you.
I think for me, the only open question is the 58A that we talked about, we want to address that, but everything else, I don't have any concerns with and agree with Mr. Ryan's report.
So I think on 58A, we can recommend the waiver, and then one of two things happens. Before in the next week or so, their engineer determines that, we are over the threshold, and then they can submit whatever needs to be submitted and notice appropriately, then we would hear it as part of our case. And if not, if the engineer doesn't find that, and during testimony, a condition of approval, if approval were granted, would be that they have to go back to the governing body as a separate application.
And that's been done before, that process. It just extends their their timeline for finalizing the site plan, but it can be, it's a perfectly valid way of doing it.
Questions on waivers? Is there a motion on waivers only for the moment?
I do have one more question.
Okay.
For number 48 in Liz's, it's the location description of all solid waste storage facilities. Won't the one that's there, will that be moved? Or to make room for the additional canopy? Or will that not be?
I'm not positive, I have to ask my engineers the honest answer. I know we're not changing anything, but if we're moving it, I'm just not certain.
Okay. Yeah, my only thought is because I know as you come around that, you know, the dumpster's right there. So I don't know if you do actually need to move the solid waste storage, area.
But Bill, you're seeing it on the plan.
Yeah, yes, they're showing you what's
They are
there
showing-
now.
Okay.
And the plan does note that they might have to modify one corner of it to make enough clearance for that turning movement, but it's staying where it is.
Thank you.
Any other questions on waivers? All right, so before we get to a motion, so Bill, you had recommended incomplete administratively, then received additional information, but it was not 10 days in advance, so the public might not have had a chance to see it, or?
Well, that came in on then, 9/3/24.
Came in on that, or it came in on the 18th?
I'm sorry, what,
Okay.
the letter you referred to before was,
Your
Nine-
comment number one, the
9/3/24.
information that responds to comment number one.
right, that came in under letter 9/3/24 from County Law.
Okay, but our borough secretary received it on the 18th.
I think I just sent that checklist app corrected, application to note the steep slope variance and updated our draft notice last week.
Okay, I don't know the time.
I'd love to say that it was the 3rd, but I'm pretty sure it was last week.
All right, so we do not have a written report yet from our engineer nor our planner on that, but that
Right.
sounds like it might be the only thing if we recommend waivers.
Well, I had intended to make a written report on that,
Okay.
that's supplementary information. You can accept what I just put on the record here as my report.
All right, so hearing that, I have no questions on completeness. So you would, based on information on hand, recently received, your recommendation is we are now complete
Yes.
administratively.
Yes, with the waiver request.
Right.
With the grant of the waivers, rather.
So any questions on board members on that last item of completeness? Is there a single motion that would deal with completeness and waivers?
I'll make a motion,
Two,
grant all the waivers requested,
and
deem the application complete.
is there a second?
Second.
Karen, roll call please.
Okay, was it Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Mr. Baza?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
Mr. Rizos?
Yes.
And Mr. Cianciano?
Yes.
All right, the application's been deemed complete. Responsibility, as you know, for proper notice, payment of escrow, all that has to be deemed appropriate before we hear testimony. The board's calendar allows for testimony to begin at the next regular meeting. For clarity, I want to share with board members an email conversation I had with the borough engineer regarding traffic. So my question was, do we need the borough's traffic consultant? To me, this is engineering, not traffic.
I don't
You
believe
agree?
so. I don't believe so.
So Karen, we don't see a need to bring Harold Maltz in.
Okay, I'll tell him.
There's no new traffic generating issue.
Right. Okay.
And just one more, I probably should have said before you moved on it, but these waiver requests are not dispositive of the issues. If anything comes up during the course of the hearings that we may need to get that information, the board can always ask for it. So those issues aren't resolved just by moving it to be administrative.
Understood.
I know you do, but I just have to say it again.
All right. Do you intend to be ready for next month?
We do.
Good.
Would that be the October 28th date, Mr. Chairman, listed on your agenda?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you. Correspondence and bills. Do we
Thank you
have
very
any?
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there are no correspondence nor bills. Any new business? Old business?
Just curious if there's anything on Franklin Place?
No, nothing at all, nothing at all. As I said, the last meeting, I requested $3,000 in escrow, he brought in a check. And I sent him the agenda and everything, and he didn't come in last month, and, there hasn't been anything from him since.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other old business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?